Hey guys, today I want to talk about just solving literal equations, but in today's pumpkin carving activity where you do a little drawing and coloring, you're going to have to solve some of these equations that have fractions as the coefficients. I want to talk about how to do that before you get too far into it. Um, so in this example, the equation's already solved for B. Let's say that we wanted to get C by itself and solve for C. I'll just mark that over here. Solve for C. Okay, so if we want to get C by itself, that means we need to try to get rid of this 1/2. Now, one way to do that is we could divide by 1/2. That gets kind of messy because now you're looking at B divided by 1/2, and that's just kind of gross. So instead of dividing by a fraction, that little rule, and somebody in one of the classes on Friday mentioned keep it, change it, flip it, or keep, change, change. This is kind of that rule where if we want to try to get rid of this 1/2, we can actually multiply by the reciprocal of 1/2, which is if you just flip the fraction upside down. So in other words, 2/1. Do the same thing on both sides to make sure that we're keeping the equation balanced. Now when we multiply 1/2 times 2/1, let's see, where can I put this? Right over here. 1/2 times 2/1. Notice you multiply straight across, so it becomes 2/2, in other words, 2/2, which equals 1/2. Okay, so that's why we multiply by the reciprocal, so that we'll always get the same number in the numerator and the denominator, so it equals 1/2. So the 2 is going to cancel with the 2, the 1 is going to cancel with the 1, and it's just going to leave you with 1/2 C, or just C. On the other side, we multiply 2 times B, and we just get 2B. Now, I don't need to write divided by 1 because anything divided by 1 is itself just 2B. C equals 2 times B. That would be our literal equation solved for C. We'll look at one more. It's got a little bit more involved here. This equation is already solved for P because P is by itself. So let's solve for M instead. Let's try to get M by itself. So I'm going to mark that here. Solve for M. Now we do have to try to get rid of this -5. However, since that's in parentheses, we want to start with what's outside of the parentheses, trying to get rid of that 2/3 and moving it to the other side using our inverses. And just like on the last problem, where we didn't really want to divide by 2/3 because that gets pretty messy. Instead, what we can do is multiply by that reciprocal again. Let me get rid of this here first. So what is the reciprocal of 2/3? Well, if I flip the numbers around, change the numerator and the denominator, it's 3/2. So I'm going to multiply by 3/2 as my first step. Now let's simplify and see what we get. Well, 3/2 times 2/3 becomes 6/6, right? Because you multiply the top numbers, multiply the bottom numbers together. But 6/6 is the same as 1/2. Okay, so this is where it basically just cancels out because it multiplies up to 1. And then if I take 1 times m minus 5, I just get m minus 5. On the other side, p times 3/2. So remember, you multiply the numerators together, I'd get 3p. And I multiply the denominators together. 1 times 2 is 2. So I get 3p over 2. And there's not really much I can do with it. I just leave it like that. But to finish solving for m, I just have to undo that subtraction. So I add 5 on each side, and I get m equals 3p over 2 and plus 5 at the end. All right, so that's another way that we can solve a literal equation by using the inverses or reciprocals of a fraction rather than dividing by a fraction. All right, so that might come up in a couple of your problems today. Looking at it, it looks like numbers 3 and 4 on the pumpkin carving. So good luck, everybody, and I'll see you Tuesday.